I am so delighted to welcome here today in this remarkable setting, almost a plantation, Panache Desai. Panache, what's your title?
I really don't have a title. I always say to people, I'm just an old friend that you asked a long time ago to remind you of your magnificence. Really, in essence, my role is to dissolve all of the titles and to end the distance between you and your own divine self, so that you can be empowered in the knowledge that you're an infinite being with an infinite potential.
So we're an infinite being with an infinite potential.
Yes, we are.
And, you know, when you say that, I can feel the resonance of that even moving through me as you say it, because you say it with such a sense of knowing, with such a sense of isness.
Yes.
And yet I know you meet and I meet lots and lots of people who don't feel that way. What do you tell them? How can they start to discover their own magnificence?
First thing is that it's based in a knowing out of a direct experience that I had. So everything that I share with people that I meet is not based out of a belief or something that I've read in a book. And for me, until it's a direct experience and it's a knowing, it's not yours.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, the greatest blessing has been to make that available to people as a direct experience, that they are divine, and so that they can have that experience in and of themselves. For me, when I experienced the divine, it was just an infinite ocean of energy with no beginning and no end. And it was a brilliantly golden color, almost like a white light. And the feeling associated with it was just love, but beyond any classical human definition of the word love. And there was no judgment, there was no criticism, there was nothing to attain, there was nothing to become. I was just loved completely for the creation that I was. And that experience has been the foundation of this message that I've had the honor of sharing for the last 10 years. That we are divine beings, that in essence there is nothing that you need to do to access that divinity. What gets in the way is everything that we've labeled or judged about ourselves. So in the divine realm there is no judgment, but we as human beings have judged ourselves. So our anger is wrong or bad or a negative energy. No, it isn't. Actually, it's just an energy.
Not. Anger isn't wrong or bad.
Same thing with sadness, same thing with anger. So, you know, from day one we're conditioned out of our magnificence. And so this culture of repression or suppression comes into being. So all of a sudden, instead of staying in the flow of these energies and the flow of these experiences, we repress them and they form vibrational density. So what happens is that those energies, when they're not experienced, begin to solidify and begin to form weight in the body, the density. So my role has been to lovingly dissolve that density so that people can access their natural state, because we're all already everything.
Right.
And so for me, it wasn't about teaching, or it wasn't about a technique or a modality. It was just being in that presence, that divine love, that highest resonance of divine love.
This brings up an interesting point. You know, I talk a lot to healers about modalities.
Yeah.
And what I've kind of discovered over the last couple of years is that the day of the technique is ending.
Yes, it is.
And that there's now, and it's not even modality now, I got a new word, it's mode.
Yes.
And it's your mode of being.
Yes.
So what is your perception of that for the healers out there that are really still doing practices and that are guiding a lot of our audience, of our community at Healing with the Masters? They are healers.
Yes.
So how can they start guiding people in this new vibration, in this new paradigm that we're in?
Well, we have to look at the origin of every technique. So the origin of every technique is no different than training wheels on a bicycle. You know, we're dealing with an unseen energy that people cannot see or know tangibly.
Yeah.
And so techniques and modalities became a way of accessing this unseen force.
Right.
So when I draw this symbol or I do such and such thing, it will have this impact in my reality. But you get to a certain point when the energies on the planet vibrate beyond all of those techniques and modalities, where just the sheer beingness of you emanates from you. That presence emanates from you, and that is what makes the difference. So the form is dissolving.
The form is dissolving.
Form is dissolving. So the techniques, the modalities, the teaching, you know, everything that we've known, that we've needed to go through as a part of our development is falling away. And direct access to that divine potential that you are is coming into being. So that's why I never created something, because I always knew that we're all innately divinely gifted. And when we can authentically embrace who we are on the level of our humanity, that greater light and potential shines forth. You know, and so that's the shift. The shift is out of doing, out of techniques, out of modalities, into just the ownership of your divine self, the ownership of your divine essence.
Okay, so I'm hearing the audience again, and what I'm hearing is, that's all well and good for you.
Right.
You experienced it. So
right.
How? So you know the how thing.
Right.
So how always is a the paradox of how is doing. So how do we, first of all, how do we get there? And second of all, how do we get out of it? How do we get out of being in that paradox of doing? How do we get out of how?
I think people find me when they're absolutely exhausted, is one of the first places that they find me. So they've taken every workshop and technique and modality that they can, and they still aren't fully accessing the fullness of themselves. Or they still know that there's more. And so I get those people. And then I also get the people who've meditated for 20 years or 30 years and done everything they're supposed to do, and yet nothing's really shifting for them in a way that they know is possible. And then I get people who are absolutely brand new to this, who just step into being. And so the how is through the authentic integration of our humanity. So my role, in addition to what happened, was to just embody this resonance and this presence. And through embodying this presence, it serves as a catalyst to integrate all of those energies that give you access to who you are.
So right now you're acting as a catalyst on this film. So everyone who's listening has the opportunity to access the energy that is being offered just by your presence and your authenticity within that divine energy.
Absolutely. I'd encourage people to actually just even open their palms and just take some breaths and just receive, because every time we get together, I describe it as a vibrational communion. It's our souls coming together. It's our souls having a conversation. It's like, hi Jennifer, I've been waiting for you. I haven't seen you in a very long time.
I'm getting emotional. This
and I'm
is
so
powerful.
sorry that it's been hard for you, and I'm sorry that you feel alone. And I'm sorry that you haven't been understood in this world. But you weren't created to fit in. You were created to be your own unique expression, and I love you. Welcome home.
I was created to fit in.
You weren't created to fit in.
I wasn't created to fit in. See, there it is. There's the belief, isn't it? It just showed up. So, and that's likely what a lot of people who are listening are playing with. Okay, so we aren't here to fit in.
No, we're not. We're conditioned to fit in, and we're conditioned to conform. But we're actually created to reform and redefine what it is to be human.
Say that one more time.
So we've been conditioned to conform and to fit in. But we were created to redefine and reform what it is to be human. And we do that by being ourselves. The only problem is we get so wrapped up in being spiritual, being spiritual the right way, the spiritual conversation, or whatever that is, right? So we conform to whatever the conversation is that exists, instead of abiding in the truth of who we are.
I was having a little fun with a friend of mine, and we were doing this routine, this laughing, lovely, fun routine, and we were the blonde Brits, and we were just talking all the time about, oh my God, I am so spiritual. Oh my God, you're spiritual. We're so spiritual. But that's kind of the conundrum, isn't it? I am spiritual, and that creates a boundary now.
It does.
That creates a fitting in, that creates a new clique.
It does. The greatest shift for me right now is shifting out of being spiritual into just being authentic. It's so much easier to just say I'm upset than it is to say my second chakra isn't spinning properly, or 16 bands of multi-dimensional light are not turned on, and Saint Germain is just not smiling on me in this moment. It's just easier to say I'm angry, I'm sad, So it's just moving into the reality of reality. So what's real for me? Okay, I'm upset. What's wrong with that? Nothing. It's just an energy. It's, and that's the part that people forget or miss, A rainbow wouldn't be as beautiful as it is in the absence of red or yellow or green or purple. It wouldn't, would it?
Or the storm that created it.
It wouldn't. Right? So all of this content is what makes you beautiful. That's the blessing that you are. And when you can embrace it and stop resisting it, all of that spirit and that essence shines forth, because you become transparent. You're no longer resisting you. And then life and allowing and receiving comes into being. And so you step out of the old paradigm of fear, lack, and scarcity into the fullness of just I am. I am. I am. I am.